Hi everybody, like I always say, Namaskara everyone, Andariki Namaskaram, Ellargu Swagatam, and a very warm welcome to my own channel, that is Navamita Ma'am Chemistry. I hope that you have already watched the mole concept video which was done in just under 40 minutes, and we are going to do the same for solutions as well. Alright, so the maximum limit is 1 hour. Within 1 hour, we are going to complete the chapters. Each and every concept will be tackled, and after you have studied these two chapters, tomorrow we are going to solve some PYQs, and the PYQs will be from 2017 to 2021. That means last 5 years of PYQs we are going to solve. And because we know that the J mains exam has shifted towards the pre-COVID area, so that will give us the maximum benefit. इसके बावजूद, इसके अलावा, apart from this, we will also be solving 2025 PYQs. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also like this video if you think that this benefits you, and don't forget to share this video because this is the only chemistry channel where I am going to teach you in English. All right, there will be 5% Hindi idhar udhar hai na, but whatever I say in Hindi I will be repeating that in English. So please stay calm, enjoy the session, and let's get set to go. All right, now when we come to the solutions chapter, we know that this is definitely a class 12 chapter. However, this is very closely related to your mole concept chapter. All right. Now, what is the solution? Let's understand the definition of solution. Solution is actually a homogeneous mixture of two or more than two components, right? There can be two components. There can be just sugar and water. चीनी नमक हो सकता है. Yes, there can be sugar, salt and water. या फिर there can be just चीनी and पानी, or just नमक and पानी, right? There can be just salt and water, just sugar and water, or sugar, salt and water, right? So there can be two or three more components as well, right? Now, solutions which contain two components, what are they called as? They are called as binary solution. And in this chapter, this year, we are going to take a look at binary solutions more. Our syllabus is limited for binary solutions. Okay? All right. Now, substances which are used to prepare a solution, they are called as the components. So, the solute is a component, solvent is a component, and the solution is what you get. That is the end result. Okay? Now, the component that is present in the largest quantity, usually, generally, that is called as the solvent. The solvent also decides the medium of the solution. So if the solvent is gaseous, then the solution is going to be gaseous. If the solvent is a liquid, then the solution is going to be liquid. If the solvent is solid, then yes, the solution is also going to be solid. Yes, is that right? Okay. Now the other component that is present in the lesser quantity in the solution, that is termed as solute. So this is typically from your NCERT. Everybody knows this and knows this. Everybody must have seen this. So you have gaseous solution. Sorry, gaseous solution. Yes, solute is gas here, solvent is gas here. What is the example? Mixture of oxygen and nitrogen gas, right? If the solute is liquid and the gas and the solvent is gas, then you can have chloroform mixed with nitrogen gas. All right. If you have solid solute and solvent is in gaseous state, then you can have camphor and nitrogen gas. Now let's talk about liquid solutions where the solvent is going to be liquid, but the solute can be gas or liquid or solid. And the example can be oxygen dissolved in water, that is gas dissolved in liquid, ethanol dissolved in water, that is liquid dissolved in liquid. Glucose dissolved in water is the very usual thing that we see, and that is solid dissolved in liquid. All right, moving ahead, let's talk about solid solution. That means the solvent is going to be solid. The solute can be gas, liquid, or solid. So the example can be a solution of hydrogen in palladium, that means a gas that is dissolved in solid. You can have amalgam of mercury with sodium, which is liquid in solid, yes, and you can have copper dissolved in gold, that is your solid in solid. Now, once again, we have to go through the concentration terms because you have just probably studied the mole concept. So let me tell you here that mass percentage W by W is equal to mass of component in the solution divided by total mass of solution multiplied with 100. Volume percentage is percentage V by V. It is volume of component divided by total volume of solution multiplied with 100. What is percentage weight by volume? That is mass by volume percent, which is equal to mass of solute in gram divided by volume of solution in milliliter multiplied with 100. Parts per million, that is ppm, number of parts of the component divided by total number of all the components of solution multiplied with 10 to the power 6. Let us go to the fifth concentration term, mole fraction, which is chi of A is equal to N of A divided by Na plus Nb. Suppose you have a binary solution, then otherwise number of moles of the component divided by total number of moles of all the components. This is going to be your mole fraction. All right. Now let's talk about molarity. Molarity is moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liter. What is molality? Molality is moles of solute divided by mass of solvent in kg. All right. Apart from this, you know, you have the usual normality, formality and everything. If you want me to write down the formula for formality, what I'm going to do is I'll write this down here in this empty space, and you know, then I can give it to you. Does that work for you, everybody? Yes, normality and formality. I'll write that here and I will let you know. Okay, I'll give it to you. Alrighty, moving ahead, now let's talk about vapor pressure of liquid solution. This is where the actual chapter starts, everybody. So please pay attention here, because this is the most important part of your solutions chapter. From here, you will get majority of the question. Either it can be Raoult's law or it is going to be colligative property. No other questions will be asked from solution. That is a 110% surety. So vapor pressure, if a liquid solution is the pressure, a vapor pressure, if a liquid or a liquid, if a liquid solution is the pressure exerted by the vapors in equilibrium with the liquid solution at a particular temperature. Now, what do you understand by this? That, ma'am, we haven't understood anything from here. That means that it basically means, take a look at it. What is vapor pressure? Yes, vapor pressure of a liquid. We are talking about vapor pressure of a liquid is the pressure that is exerted by the vapors when it is in equilibrium with the liquid. For example, I'm going to make a katora here. I'm going to make a bowl here, a container here. So this is, let's say, our container. All right, this is our container. Now, in this container, you have the liquid in this phase, right? This is your liquid. Is that clear? All right. You know, this topmost layer of the liquid that you have, please take a look at it, everybody. Please take a look at it. The topmost layer of liquid that you have here, yes, from here, certain particles or certain molecules, they must have gotten to the vapor state. Is that right? Yes. Now this vapor phase, after it is at equilibrium, and now let's suppose that we have closed the container. Okay, let's say that we have closed the container. तो now if I have closed the container, अगर मैंने इस container को बंद कर दिया, if I close the container, that means that there will be a time when the vapor and the liquid, both of them are in equilibrium. Yes. Now, as many number of liquid particles are getting converted to vapor, that many number of vapor particles are getting converted to liquid. That is a possible. Yes. So at this equilibrium position, the amount of pressure that is exerted by the vapor of the liquid in equilibrium, that, my dear student, is your vapor pressure of liquid solution. Do you understand this? Yes, I hope you understand this. All righty. Moving ahead, everybody, now let's get into Raoult's law. Very, very important and one of the most amazing topics as well. Very easy also. Okay. Now, Raoult's law, it states that for a solution of volatile liquids, what do you mean by volatile liquids, bacha log? Volatile liquids basically means those which vaporizes. Yes, those that can vaporize very easily. So, volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component in the solution, it is directly proportional to its mole fraction. What is it proportional to? Its mole fraction. Okay, all right. Now let's understand what Raoult's was actually trying to say. Yes, because again, this is a definition. We might not be able to understand this very well. Okay. So suppose you have a solution. Okay, you have a solution here. Let's say, again, I'm making a container. Okay, you have a solution here, and in this solution, let's say that you have a component 1. Component 1 is blue in color. Okay, this is your component 1, and suppose you have another component which is white in color, and this is your component 2. Is this clear? So you have two components. You have component 1 and you have component 2. Clear hai? This much is clear to you, everybody? Yes. All right. Now, if you have component 1, then the component 1 has a mole fraction chi1. Do you understand? Yes. And what is component 2? Component 2 will have a mole fraction of chi2. Do you understand this much? Yes or no? Then according to what Raoult said, again read it. What did Raoult say? Raoult said that for a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. That means that partial pressure. So can I denote partial pressure? can I denote partial pressure of component 1? Sorry. Can I denote partial pressure of component 1 P1 to be as proportional P1 proportional to chi of 1? Does that look okay to you? Can I do this? Absolutely. Now for component 2, can I write it as P2 is directly proportional to chi 2? Can I do this, everybody? Will you all agree? Yes. Okay. Now, this is after I have mixed them, right? After I have mixed them. But do you also realize that there was a point? Yes, previously there was a point when you only had a container. Let's say you had a container here. In this container, you had only component 1. Yes, and there is a possibility that you have another container. Okay, this is another container here, and in this container you have only component 2, correct? So in this case, I am going to say that the partial pressure is the pure component. This is for the pure component 2, this is for the pure component 1, right? So can this be P naught of 2 and can this be P naught of 1? Do you all agree with this? Will you all agree with this? Yes, this was pure. These both were when they were pure, right? Yes, okay. So that means that now if I want to remove this proportionality sign, okay, I want to remove this proportionality sign. Can I write it as P1 is equal to chi1 multiplied with P1 naught? Because purity, when it was a pure solvent, at that time there was a partial pressure. Can I bring that into picture? Oh yes, absolutely I can. Similarly, can I also write that P2 is equal to chi2 multiplied with P2 naught? Can I also write this? Oh yes, absolutely ma'am. Why not? I can do this. Now what happened? After going through this, there was another fellow called Dalton, John Dalton. Yes. So according to Dalton's law of pressure, okay. Now, according to eh, according to Dalton's, according to, for this I have to write because if I don't write then you will not understand. It's a little confusing. Okay. So according to Dalton's law of partial pressure, Dalton said that, see, Dalton said actually very sensitive, a very common sense thing. He said that, so if you have partial pressures of component 1, component 2, that means that the total pressure is going to be the sum of all the partial pressure. Makes sense, right? Makes sense, isn't it? So he basically said that if I have P total, my P total must be P1 plus P2. Do you all agree? Now, I have, what is my P1? My P1 is equal to, everybody, P1 is equal to, one second. As far as I know, it was chi1 P1 naught plus, what was it? Plus it was chi2 multiplied with P2 naught. Do you all agree? Was this the values that we had? Look at this. Yes, this is one value and this is one value. Do you see? Yes, these were the values. So I have just substituted them here. Okay. Alright, this much is clear. Now you know that if I have the mole fractions, all the mole fractions, if you add it, it should be equal to 1. Is that right? Absolutely. So chi of 1, because I have here chi of 1, can I write it as 1 minus chi 2 multiplied with P1 naught plus, okay, one second. Let me change the color and write it only. Plus chi2 multiplied with P naught, P2 naught. Yes, can I write it like this? Absolutely, ma'am. Why not? Why can't you not? Why can't you write like this? You can. Absolutely. Great. Now, do you notice that P2 naught, now do you notice that chi2 and chi2 are common here? Do you notice that? Yes. And in this case, I can also take P1 not common, let's say. Okay, if I take, no, I'm not going to take P1 not common. P1 not, I'm going to just separate it out. Okay. Yes, now I can take chi2 common and I can write P2 not minus P1 not. Can I do this? Can I do this? You tell me. Can I do this? I can very well do this. Yes, I can very well do this. Absolutely, I can do this. Is that right? Now, shall we draw the graph and see it once? Yes, let me draw the graph here. Okay. let me draw the graph here and let me show it to you how the graph is going to look like. So what are we going to do is, for this, no, we draw the graph as what we do is that we take two y-axis. This is one, and here we are going to take another one. All right. Now we're going to join this with the x-axis. So in the x-axis, we are going to take mole fraction. And let's say that here I am taking chi1 is equal to 1. So my chi2 is equal to 0. Because remember, sum of all the mole fraction is supposed to be 1. And here I can say that chi2 is equal to 1. So chi1 is equal to 0. Makes sense, everybody? Does that make sense? Yes, clear? All right. Okay. So now chi1, is that right? Chi1. So for chi1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line which is like this. All right, makes sense, everybody? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so this is your chi of 1. All right. Now, for chi 2 here, for chi 2, what I'm going to do is, this is my chi 2. All right. Now, what is going to be my total? This is going to be my P total, isn't it? This is going to be my P total. So, P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Do you all agree? Yes. Do you all agree? Now, look at this. Here is where chi 2 is this thing. Here is where. Actually, sorry, when I was explaining, no, I have interchanged it. Okay, I have interchanged it, everybody. So this is going to be for your P1 and this is going to be for your P2, because look at this. This is where mole fraction is 1 and this is where mole fraction of chi1 is equal to 1. All right. Yes. So this is how the graph looks like. All right. This is how the graph looks like. I'm pretty sure that you have understood this. Now, because Dalton came into pictures, yes, because Dalton came into picture, we also have to understand one more thing, okay? We also have to understand another thing, that using the Dalton's law, right? Using Dalton's law, yes, Dalton's law, what you can do is, you can also find the mole fraction of components 1 and 2 in vapor phase. Using Dalton's law, mole fraction of component 1 and 2 in vapor phase is equal to, let me write this down here, okay? In vapor phase is going to be, let's say for P1 it is going to be Y1 P total. Why Y1? Because vapor phase. For X1 we have already understood that it is for the liquid phase. Now if I write for P2 is going to be Y2 multiplied with P total. Understood? Yes. So this is about your Raoult's law. Okay. This is about your Raoult's law. How many of you are clear with it? I really hope that you have understood. I think the diagram is looking clear. I think my handwriting is looking clear. There are some students who might say that, ma'am, you are covering the board. So if I am covering the board, take a look at this. Now I hope that everything is crystal clear to you all. Take a look at this. You can take a screenshot. Also, you don't have to waste your time at all, because I'll be giving you this particular notes any which ways in the Telegram channel. All right. Now let's understand vapor pressure of solutions of solids and liquids and Raoult's law. Now, the case that we have just studied, both of them are volatile. That means both the liquids, that is component 1 and component 2, both of them could evaporate. Both of them could vaporize. Suppose you bring into picture a solid in liquid. Tell me something. Is the solid going to evaporate as well? No. The solid, that means, is not going to contribute to the vapor pressure at all. This time you will only have the vapor pressure of one component. Clear है? बच्चा देखो, इससे पहले जो केस पढ़ा हमने उसमें दो वोलेटाइल लिक्विड थे, दोनों लिक्विड जो है वो इवेपोरेट कर सकते हैं. बोथ द लिक्विड्स कैन इवेपोरेट, राइट? अब हमने क्या किया है, instead of two liquids I am taking one solid and one liquid. So if I put the solid in the liquid, now the solid particles are also going to be there, and the solid particle is not allowing all the liquid to also evaporate. Do you get the point? Do you get the point what is happening here? Yes. So if a non-volatile solute is added to a solvent to give a solution, the number of solvent molecules that is escaping from the surface is correspondingly reduced. Yes, and the reduction in vapor pressure, it only depends on the quantity of the non-volatile solute. That means the more amount of solute you add, the lesser will be the vapor pressure. It does not depend on the nature of the solute at all, and this gives rise to your colligative property, that is your relative lowering vapor pressure, elevation in boiling point, depression in freezing point, as well as osmotic pressure. So we will get into that in a little while, so please stay back everybody, because I'm going to explain this. But do you understand this? तो बेसिकली हो क्या रहा है यहाँ पे, ठीक है, what is happening here is, you understand that I have a container, ठीक है, I have a container. In this container, what do I have? I have certain amount of liquid, ठीक है, I have certain amount of liquid. But not only liquid do I have, but I also have a solid particles here. And do you understand that this solid particle right here, it will not evaporate. Yes, so in the vapor phase, you only have these many vapors that are, that are exerting pressure. But do you remember in the previous case there was a lot of vapor? Yes, there was a lot of vapor everybody. Now, so that means that what is going to be my P1 here? P1 is directly proportional to chi1, you know this, right? And I can also say that P1 is equal to chi1 multiplied with P1 naught when it was absolutely pure. Is that true? Absolutely. But you also know that the orange color, that is P2, is directly proportional to chi2, but P2 is a solid. P2 is a solid. It is not vaporizing. It is not volatile. That means it is not vaporizing. And that means that clearly my P total is equal to P1, which is equal to chi1 multiplied with P1 naught. Is that true, everybody? Now tell me something, because I have chi1, will you be able to also find out the mole fraction of the second one? Yes, this can also be written as 1 minus chi2 multiplied with P1 naught. Can I not write this? I can very well write this. Yes, is that true, everybody? Acha. Now if I have to make the graph for this, okay? Now if I have to make the graph for this, so please take a look at it. I'm going to make the graph for this, okay? Take a look at this, okay? All right, now suppose I have to make the graph for this. So once again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make the graph like this. This time, however, I'm making it little chotu. Okay. All right, everybody. Now suppose this is mole fraction 0. This is where we are taking mole fraction, correct? On the x-axis, we are taking mole fraction, and here it is 1. All right. And this side, what are we taking? This side, on the y-axis, we are taking vapor pressure. Yes. So for this, what will be my, graph? How will my graph look like? My graph is going to look like this. Yes, because look at this. This is where it is becoming 1. So what is this? It will reach vapor pressure of the pure solvent. Yes, that will be the peak where you see that it is joining the y-axis. Yes, where you see that it is joining the y-axis, this is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. Okay, this is the vapor pressure of this pure solvent. So from the pure solvent, it will reduce. Clear hai everybody? Yes, perhaps no doubt everyone. Alright, now that we have understood Raoult's law, let me also tell you that in general form, what do you get? Now, for any solution, the partial vapor pressure of each volatile component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Okay, it is always directly proportional to its mole fraction. Yes, that is exactly what we have written. So P1 is equal to chi1 multiplied with P1 naught. P2 is equal to P2 naught multiplied with chi2. What is P3? Let's say that there is another component, then also it is going to be P3 naught multiplied with chi3. Got it? Clear? All right. Now what happens? Those solutions that follow Raoult's law for entire range of concentration, yes, that follow Raoult's law for entire range of concentration, they are called as ideal solution. So what are the properties of ideal solution? The ideal solution properties are, my dear students, ideal solution properties are that once you mix them, that is, that is the enthalpy, yes. So once you have mixed them, you will not see any difference in the temperature, yes. All right, so delta H mixing will be 0 before mixing the enthalpy that it was, and after mixing the enthalpy that you are getting, they are both exactly the same. All right, now in fact, so much so that this is very weird that even after mixing whatever volume you had and whatever volume you have now, they are also the same. So there is no delta V mix as well. You get it? Yes, because the intermolecular attractive force between a component A and between a component B, they are nearly the same even after you have mixed them. Okay, even after you have mixed them. So basically, what can I write? I can write here that intermolecular attractive forces, between let's say that you have two components between AA and BB. AA and BB are what? They are nearly equal, are nearly equal to A B interaction, or nearly equal to, when you mix them, they have the same intermolecular attractive force. Now example, let me write down some of the example. What are the example? Example is N-heptane, a mixture of N-heptane and N-hexane. Apart from that, you have benzene and toluene. These are all your ideal solution. तो अच्छा ठीक है बच्चा, we understand that those who follow Raoult's law, they are going to be what? They are going to be ideal solution. But obviously, majority of the solution that we see in the world, are they going to be ideal solution? Never ever. That is not possible. Yes, so that means that we are going to have non-ideal solutions. That means that those that do not follow Raoult's law in the entire range, they deviate from Raoult's law. Yes, and when this happens, there are two different types of deviation. Now for this, I always give one example, and the example is a little bit like this. So suppose you say that you have student and student community, SS community you have, okay, and you have teacher and teacher community, right? Yes. So usually what happens when you have older teachers, and let's say that the teacher is not, the teacher does not understand your Gen Z lingo. The teacher does not understand who is Samay Raina. The teacher does not understand who is, Apurva Mukhija. The teacher does not understand all of these. They don't understand the slangs you use, the linguistics that you use, skibidi, what is skibidi? They don't know all of these things, right? So now, if you have a not Gen Z teacher and students, if you put them together, do you think that their interaction will be much stronger? No, 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 no. So the student and the teacher interaction that you will have, that will always be lesser than the student teacher interaction. Is that right? At this point, what do you have? At this point, you have something that is called as positive deviation. What do you have? You have something that is called as positive deviation. ठीक है बच्चे? All right. Now suppose you have a student interaction, but you have a very cool teacher. Like for example, someone who just came out of someone was just graduated. Like you have the YouTuber influencers. Like you have Tarun Speaks. Then you have Eclipse Nova. Right? They are also like, and you really incline towards them. Why? Because they have dealt with the exact same amount of pressure, exact same journey just like you, and you are going to mingle with them very well. In fact, when you see them, you are not going to let them go. Is that true, everybody? Is that true? So now if you have such young teachers, what will happen? What will happen? You will have a student teacher reaction that will be further stronger. You would not want to let them go. Why? Because you are very fond of them, because they know the journey that you have been through. They are exactly doing what you want to. They have the dream jobs, the dream life that you want to go through. Is that right? Absolutely. So here, can I write now that this is going to be negative deviation? But now you are not understanding that, ma'am. What do you mean by negative deviation here? This should be positive, ma'am. We like this more. Why is this positive deviation? Hold on. Now understand this. Because here, the student-teacher interaction is not so much, right? Or let's say that the solute-solvent interaction is not so much. So the moment when you mix the enthalpy, yes, when you mix them, what will happen? The volume will become far more. Yes, the volume will be far more here. Why? They are not interacting. But here when you mix them, the volume will be lesser than the amount you had. The volume will be lesser than the amount you had, because they have properly gulmil gaya. You know that song, gulmil gulmil landa gulmil gul. So they have properly mixed so well that now the volume is less. So that means that what are the properties that we are going to speak here? What are the properties that we are going to talk about here? The properties are going to be, everybody. Now take a look at it. Let me explain this to you. I have already explained the concept of positive deviation. So here, what will happen? Here, delta H mixing, that will be greater than 0. Yes, delta V mixing, that will also be greater than 0. Yes, an example here. What are the example? Here the example is ethanol and water. What is it? Ethanol and water. Okay. Apart from that, you have carbon disulfide, and what do you have? Acetone. These are the examples of positive deviation. All right. Now let's talk about the negative deviation. In the negative deviation, what is it that you're going to observe? In the negative deviation, you're going to observe that delta H mix, that is going to be lesser than 0. Delta V mix, that is going to be lesser than 0. And here, what is the example that I can give? The example will be chloroform and acetone. Yes, chloroform and acetone. Yes, sorry. Chloroform and acetone. Apart from this, another example is nitric acid plus water. Yes. Nitric acid plus water? No, sorry. I think I must have forgotten. Let's write here. I'm not very sure. You can check this out later, but let me write what I'm sure about. Phenol plus aniline. Phenol plus aniline, if you mix here also, you will see a negative deviation. Okay, what will you see? Negative deviation. Acha. ठीक है, all right, okay. Now this graph you can just take a look at your book. Now concept of boiling. So when we come about, now you understand that if you have positive deviation or if you have negative deviation, the boiling point will also change a little bit. Is that true? Don't you think that the boiling point is also going to be changing a little bit? And if that is the case, here what do we call it? We call something to be as azeotropes. So what are azeotropes, bacha party? Azeotropes are basically binary mixtures, and they have the same composition in liquid and vapor phase, and they boil at a constant temperature. What do? They boil at constant temperature. Now when you have azeotropes, you have azeotropes also of two types. Okay, there is one that is called as minimum boiling azeotrope, one that is called as minimum boiling azeotrope. Okay, and the other one, this is called as maximum boiling azeotropes. Don't worry, I will move, just let me write this down. Yes, this is going to be your maximum boiling azeotrope. So bacha party, now tell me, do you remember the student and the teacher not reacting? Yes, by chance if somebody comes in that picture and just starts to play a music, yes, what will happen? The student and the teacher are already not reacting, and suppose they play music, the teacher will be very uncomfortable that, you how to dance, How to dance on ooh antava mama ooh antava. The students know. So all the students, they will gather together and all the teacher will be like, Ayyo, what is the dancing? What is this nonsensical song? Yeah, nobody is liking this. Yes. So what is happening? Dispersion. Dispersion bole to, that means they are separating it out. So now if you try to boil a positive deviation, yes, if you try to boil a solution which is showing you positive deviation, what will happen? With a little amount of heat, they will boil up. Yes. Do you understand this? Very good. Now understand minimum boiling azeotrope. Now let's say that Tarun Speaks or Eclipse Nova, or you have so many other influencers, right? You have Abhishek sir, you have Shubham ma'am, you have me, yeah. So if you call us and let's say that we are mingling and suppose Ooh Antavama plays, even I am going to start dancing. Somebody plays this, I will also be like Ooh Antavama, Ooh Antavama. I will also start dancing with you. Is that right? And then nobody is going to stop me. Nobody is going to stop you. Both of us together, we will be like, okay, next now play Pushpa, 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 Pushpa. We will get into that party mode. We are like, keep playing songs and we will keep dancing, right? Nobody will be able to separate us. That means that we will actually require the HOD, the dean, the principal, and everybody else to come there, stand like this and like, stop the music. Only then we might stop. Do you understand this? So here the boiling point will decrease. Here what is happening is that they will require a lot of boiling. Yes, they will require a lot of boiling temperature. Yes, for them to separate out. And here what will happen is that they will separate out very fast. I think I've written it ulta ulta. I think I've written, no, correct. Here you will require minimum boiling. So if you give them little bit of heat, they will all fly away. Here you have to give them a lot of heat to break the bonds. Okay. So this is called as a minimum boiling azeotrope. That is called as maximum boiling azeotrope. So let me write down the definition here. What is minimum boiling azeotrope? The solutions which show a large positive deviation, which show a large positive deviation from Raoult's law, they have minimum boiling azeotrope. That means they boil at a lower temperature. And here what can I write? I will have to write the solutions which show a large negative deviation from Raoult's law. They are going to form maximum boiling azeotrope. Do we understand this, everybody? Perhaps no doubt here. Yes, I hope that I'm absolutely clear to you all. Alrighty, Pighty. Now we are going to get into solubility. Solubility of a solid and a liquid. Yes. Now you understand that nature of solute and solvent. Yes. Nature of solute and solvent is definitely going to be a factor when it comes to solubility of solid, and you understand that like dissolves like. For example, let me give you an example. Yes. And I think then you will be able to understand this better. For example, sodium chloride, NaCl, dissolves in H2O. Correct? Is that true, everybody? NaCl dissolves in H2O. But if you take naphthalene, naphthalene does not dissolve in water. Is that true? Naphthalene does not dissolve in water. True that. But if I still take naphthalene, and let's say that I want to dissolve it in benzene, it will dissolve. Yes. But in the same way, if I take sodium chloride and then if I try to dissolve it in benzene, do you think that will happen? No, it will not dissolve in benzene. Why? Because like dissolves like, or in the chemistry language, we can say polar dissolves a polar, non-polar dissolves a non-polar. All right. Yes. Now let's talk about temperature. So if temperature, let's say that you have a nearly saturated solution. In that nearly saturated solution, if you have delta solution of H which is greater than 0, yes, greater than 0, then what will happen? Solubility increases. That means that this is an endothermic reaction. Yes, solubility increases. Let me write it in a shorter way. Solubility increases as temperature increases. When does this happen? When it is an endothermic reaction. Okay. Now, if delta solubility H, if this is lesser than 0, now solubility decreases when temperature increases. That means this is exothermic. Baba, understand it this way. Yes. A reaction has a tendency to give you heat. So if you give it will be, nah, I wanted to give heat. I am not going to dissolve. But a solution requires a lot of heat. So if you give it heat, it will be like, yeah, I'm going to dissolve more. I'm going to dissolve more. I'm going to dissolve more. That is what will happen. Correct? Okay. Now let's go to the third point. The third point is very simple and easy. Effect of pressure. It does not have any significant. It does not have any significant effect as solids and liquids. They are highly incompressible. All right. But the moment you bring in gas into the picture, that's when Henry's law come into the picture. So the partial pressure of the gas and vapor phase, that is P, it is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas chi in the solution, and it can be written as P is equal to Kh chi. What are the characteristics of this Henry's constant? That it is a function of the nature of gas. If you change the gas, the Kh also changes. Higher if you have Kh at a given pressure, lower is the solubility of the gas and the liquid. That means that Kh of oxygen is actually very high at a given pressure, which is why oxygen has a lesser solubility in liquid. Okay, Kh value increases with increase of temperature. That means that solubility of gases increases with a decrease in temperature. Yes, solubility of gases, what do? They increases with a decrease in temperature. At higher temperature, there is lesser amount of oxygen. Therefore, the marine life, they always prefer depth of water. They don't like the surface of the water. Anyway, what are the applications of Henry's law? You know it, in the production of carbonated beverages, deep sea diving, climbers, or peoples at high altitude. All right, now we're going to quickly do Raoult's law as a special case of Henry's law. This is very simple and easy, everybody. So you all know what is Raoult's law. What is Raoult's law? According to Raoult's law, we can write that P1 is equal to chi1 multiplied with P1 naught. Is that true, everybody? Yes. Now suppose instead of two volatile liquid, let's say that there is a gas in liquid. Okay, gas in liquid type of solution you have. Gas in liquid solution you have. If that is the case, then can I write P is equal to Kh multiplied with chi? Yes. That means if you compare this to equation, you clearly can understand and you can see that Kh is equal to P1 naught, and this is the special case of Raoult's law as a Henry's law. So Kh, that is the Henry's constant, becomes equal to the pressure of pure solvent. Yes. Now, sometime back, do you remember that if you add a solid to the liquid, then what will happen? The vapor phase, yes, the vapor pressure will only depend on the amount or the quantity. It does not depend on the nature. So, the properties that depend on the number of solute particles irrespective of their nature relative to the total number of particles present in the solution, they're called as colligative properties. Now, you have four different types of colligative property. RLVP is your lowering relative lowering of vapor pressure. Yes, what is EBP? That is elevation in boiling point. Yes, what is it? Elevation in boiling point. Obviously, when you have added some solid, now the solid is not allowing the solvent molecules to evaporate, so there will be a elevation in boiling point. This is called as depression in freezing point. Now, again, take a look at it, because you have the solid particles there. They are also not allowing the liquid particles to come in contact with each other. So, there is a depression in freezing point. Is that true? And the last one is your osmotic pressure. Yes, this is also something that we will be studying. Now let's quickly do it. Relative lowering of vapor pressure. So ideally and basically what happens here is, yes, ideally and basically what happens here is, so you all know that what do we have? We have P1 is equal to Chi1 multiplied with P1 naught. Is that true, everybody? Yes. This is from where? This is from Raoult's law. Correct? We all know this? Yes. Now the reduction in pressure, yes, the reduction in pressure, the reduction in pressure, how much is that going to be? The reduction in pressure is going to be how much? The reduction in pressure of a solvent, yes, of solvent is going to be delta P1. Do you all agree with that? Yes. So delta P1 is going to be what? Delta P1 is going to be P1 naught minus P1. Do you all agree with this? Yes. Now P1 naught I'm going to write it as it is, but P1 I know from this equation, from equation 1, let's say. From equation 1 I know that P1 is equal to Chi1 multiplied with P1 naught. Do you all agree to this? Yes or no, everybody? Yes. Now I can clearly see that I can take P1 naught as common. If I take P1 naught as common, it will become 1 minus Chi1, and you know that 1 minus Chi1 is equal to what? So P1 naught multiplied with Chi2. Can I write it like this? Absolutely. And now I can also write it as delta P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to Chi2. Or I can write it as delta P1. Look at this, delta P1 from, let's say, equation 2. Let's consider this to be equation 2. So from equation 2, I can write it as P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to Chi2. And what is a Chi2, my dear students? Chi2 can be written as N2 divided by N1 plus N2. Yes, this can be the mole, this can be the mole fraction. Yes, this can be the mole fraction, isn't it, everybody? Is that what it is? Yes, because Chi2 is N2 divided by N1 plus N2. Amazing. Now, you already know that N2, the amount of solute and solvent particles that you have. Yes, there is a huge difference. Solute is very less that is present in the solution. Is that right? So here in bracket I am writing that N1 is much greater than N2. Yes. And if that is the case, then can I also write it as N2 divided by N1 here only? Yes, can I do this? And if I do this, that means that I can again write it as P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught, that is equal to N2 divided by N1. I am going to show you 1 second. Just give me a moment. Yes. And I'm putting a star here because now I'm going to change this formula into a molarity formula, everybody. We're going to use, sorry, not molarity. We're going to use what, we're going to use molar mass and relative lowering in vapor pressure. So take a look at it, putting a star mark here to show that after this, do you understand that I can also write it as P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to. Now what is N2, Bacha Pati? What is N2? Do you understand? N2 is basically given mass divided by molar mass of M2, and N1 is basically given mass divided by molar mass of one component. Yes, that means that I can still write it as P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to W2 multiplied with M1 divided by W1 multiplied with M2. Do you all agree? Just take a look at this, everyone, and please tell me that you all understand this, because this is the final formula. All right, if you have understood this, everybody, just please, come back to it and take a look at it again. Now, similarly, we are going to take a look at elevation in boiling point. Okay, what are we going to do? Elevation in boiling point. Elevation in boiling point. That means the pure solvent was boiling at certain temperature. Now, when you have added the solute, it is boiling at certain other temperature. Yes. So the difference in them, that is going to give me the elevation in boiling point. Is that true? Yes. So that means that can I write it as a delta TB, and delta TB is going to be equal to TB, that is after adding the solute, then it is boiling at what temperature, minus TB naught, that is the pure solvent boiling point. Do you understand? What is this? This is boiling point of pure solvent. Okay? This is boiling point of pure solvent. And this is what boiling point after adding the solute. Now the expression that we have is, the expression is delta TB is equal to KB multiplied with M. Yes, what is M here? M is your molality. And what is KB? KB is called as your ebullioscopic. What is this? This is your ebullioscopic constant. It is also called as molar elevation constant. It is also called as a boiling point elevation constant. Understood? Acha. Now tell me, what is M is equal to? Molality is equal to, do you all know that molality is equal to given mass divided by, oopsie, given mass divided by molar mass? Yes, and then divided by W1 divided by 1000. Do you all agree to this? Yes. And if that is the case, then can I write it as 1000 multiplied with W2 divided by M2 multiplied with W1? Can I write it like this? Yes, molality can be written like this. Amazing. So that means that my delta TB becomes what? My delta TB becomes KB multiplied with 1000 multiplied with W2 divided by M2 multiplied with W1. Do you all agree to this? Yes or no? Amazing. All right. And finally, here is a very, very important formula that we will be using quite a number of times, is KB is equal to R is the universal gas constant multiplied with M1 multiplied with TB square divided by 1000 multiplied with delta vaporization H. Okay, latent heat of vaporization, that is what you use for elevation in boiling point. Absolutely similar to this, we can also do depression and freezing point. So you know delta TF is going to be what? Delta TF is going to be, now you know that it was freezing at certain point. After you have added a solute, now it is freezing at this temperature. So the difference between these two is going to give you the depression and freezing point. Correct? Yes or no, everybody? Yes or no, everyone? Yes. Exactly. Absolutely. Truth. Okay. So that means that, can I write it as TF naught, because this temperature is higher, right? And after that, it is, now it is freezing at a lower temperature. Correct? So that means that, can I write it as delta TF is equal to KFM, and once again you know that molality is the same. Molality is the same. So M is equal to W2 given mass divided by molar mass divided by W1 multiplied with 1000 multiplied with 1000. And if I do this, I can also write it as W2 multiplied with 1000 divided by W1 multiplied with M2. If that is the case, that means that delta TF is equal to KF multiplied with 1000 multiplied with W2 divided by W1 multiplied with M2. Is that clear, everyone? So this is the formula for delta TF. And absolutely similar to what I have told you, you can also write it. One second, did I make a mistake there? Did I make a mistake here? One second, let me write it. No, this is for KB only. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. This is for KB only. All right. Yes. Now, suppose for KF, you want to find a formula, right? So if you can also write it as M2 is equal to KF multiplied with W2 into 1000 divided by W1 multiplied with delta TF. Yes, what I have done is just interchange the cross multiplication. So that means that what is going to be KF? KF is going to be once again universal gas constant multiplied with M1 multiplied with TF square divided by 1000 multiplied with, will it be latent heat of vaporization? No, it is going to be latent heat of fusion, and this is the formula. All right, moving ahead, everybody, what is osmosis? You understand that when you have a semi-permeable membrane and the movement of solvent happens from a higher concentration to lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, that is called as osmosis. So let me write that down. What is it? When a pure solvent, you know what, actually I don't have to write down the definition, because forget about it, nobody is going to ask you the definition. Now, what is osmotic pressure? By the way, in osmosis, remember, it's the movement of the solvent. So if you have water and if you have sugar solution, the concentration of solvent is higher in water. Here you have less solvent. Yes, so it will always be water movement to the lower concentration of water, solvent, not a solute. So what is osmotic pressure? Osmotic pressure of a solution is basically the excess pressure that you have to apply to a solution to prevent osmosis. Now you want to stop the osmosis. You don't want the osmosis to happen. So that will be your osmotic pressure. Yes, what is the expression? The expression here is pi is equal to CRT. Now tell me C. What is C? C is actually your concentration. Concentration bole to molarity is also concentration. Do you guys know this? You know this. So pi is equal to N2 divided by V multiplied with R2. RT, can I write it like this? Yes. Now pi V is equal to N2 RT. If I write, that means that this is what ideal gas equation, as you all know. PV is equal to nRT. Correct? Yes or no? I can do this. I can also write it as, tell me something, because this is N2. Can I write it as given mass divided by molar mass multiplied with RT? I can also write it like this. And that means that from here I can calculate molar mass. So molar mass is equal to W2 RT divided by pi V. Do you all agree to this? Absolutely, absolutely. Now there is something that is called as isotonic solution. Isotonic solution, basically two solutions, if they both of them have the same osmotic pressure, we call it isotonic. Then there is hypertonic solution. So let's say that this one has a higher osmotic pressure, this one is lesser osmotic pressure. So this will be hypertonic, this will be hypotonic. Yes, lesser osmotic pressure, higher osmotic pressure. Gotcha. Is this all clear, everybody? Then we come across something that is called as abnormal molar mass, and abnormal molar mass is what? When do you have abnormal molar mass? When do you observe abnormal molar mass? By the way, how much time has it been? Oh my God, this has been 55 minutes. I have to do it faster. I have to do it faster. Sorry, because I wrote a lot of things, right? So when solute undergoes a dissociation, when solute undergoes dissociation, that is when you can calculate this, or when solute undergoes association. When solute undergoes association. All right. Yes. When solute undergoes association. So that is when you observe abnormal mass. And to do this, we have something called as Van't Hoff factor in picture. So what is this Van't Hoff factor? This Van't Hoff factor is given to you as I is equal to normal molar mass. I is equal to normal molar mass divided by abnormal molar mass. And similarly, you can do this a lot. You can also write it as observed colligative property divided by theoretical calculated colligative property. Total number of moles after association or dissociation divided by number of moles before association. All right. Yes, everybody. Now quickly what happens is, let us do it for let us do it for association and dissociation. So suppose this is for association. This is for association. Okay. Yes, that means that suppose you have n number of A molecules. Yes. Now after association it will become AN. Is that clear, everybody? Yes. So initially what will you have? You have 1 mole of this, you have 0 mole of this. Yes. After some time what will you have? You have 0 mole of this. After some time what will you have? You will have 1 minus alpha for this, and this will become alpha divided by N. So I can write that I for this association, yes, I for association is going to be, okay, before I, what is the final number? The final is going to be 1 minus alpha plus alpha divided by N. Do you all agree to this? Yes. That means that I can be written as 1 minus alpha, that is N final, divided by N initial. So 1 minus alpha plus alpha divided by N. This will be for association. All right. Let's come to this side. And let us quickly do it for dissociation as well. All right, because after this we are almost done. Okay, now for dissociation what will happen, bachalo? For dissociation, yet again you have the same thing. You have AN, which is going to dissociate into n number of times. Yes, so here also initially you have 1 here, initially you have 0 here, and after some time what will you have? After some time you will have 1 minus alpha here and n alpha here. So final में what do you have? In final you have 1 minus alpha plus n alpha. So I is going to be n final divided by N initial. So it is going to be 1 minus alpha plus N alpha. This is your I for dissociation. All right, everybody. Do you all understand this? Great. Now, what is the effect of temperature of vapor pressure? We understand that effect of temperature on increasing the temperature of the liquid. The escaping tendency of the molecules increases, and that is why the vapor pressure increases. Yes, the vapor pressure would have increased. And in Ostwald-Walker method, so dry air is passed successively through three system solutions, pure solvent and then drying agent. Just look at the picture once. I think you will be able to understand. Or you know what, Ostwald-Walker method, this I will make a separate video for this, everybody. Let me not waste more time. I think we are done. One more minute left. Tara, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much. This I will be teaching you later. All right. Lots of love. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. All the very best. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because more and more number of sessions are upcoming. See you.